Your brain is running on 40 times its normal hormone load. You are not falling apart. You are being rebuilt completely. The commercial plays, the dog finds its owner, and you sob. Not a little misty, actually sobbing, unable to explain yourself. Your partner glances over, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. You haven't lost your mind. Your brain is just rewriting itself. That is the thing nobody really tells you about being pregnant. The physical stuff gets all the attention: nausea, cravings, the belly. But what is happening inside your brain is a different story entirely. It is, without exaggeration, the most extreme neurological event a human experiences. More dramatic than puberty, more chemically intense than any known substance. And it starts before you even realize something has changed inside you. Nobody tells you the emotions or the evidence, not the problem. Estrogen is the one most people have heard of. You know it exists, you know it matters. You move on. But here is what they never bothered to put in the pamphlet. During a normal menstrual cycle, estrogen shifts by a fairly modest amount. During pregnancy, it increases by 1,000%. Not double, not triple. 1,000 times its baseline measurement. To put that in context, nothing else in human experience comes close. No disease, no medication, no extreme physical event produces that number. Your brain is operating inside a hormonal environment it has never encountered. It has no reference point, no prior experience, no template to follow. Every emotional response you have is a first. There is no prior version. Your brain is improvising in real time, with stakes it has never faced, and it is doing all of this while trying to keep you functional, while you are going to work, answering emails, trying to appear fine. Nobody sees the hormonal storm behind the ordinary surface of your day. There is something else that tends to surprise people in the first trimester. A strange, drifting fog settles over thinking that used to feel sharp. You walk into rooms and forget why you walked in there. A word you have known your whole life simply will not come. You start sentences and lose the thread somewhere in the middle. People joke about it. Pregnancy brain, they say, and they laugh. But the mechanism behind it is not a joke at all. Progesterone, in massive quantities, acts as a natural sedative on the brain. It dials down certain kinds of alertness to redirect resources elsewhere. Researchers have confirmed actual structural changes in the hippocampus during this period. The brain's memory center is being reshaped by what it is preparing for. Your brain is not becoming less intelligent. It is becoming differently focused. The fog is not failure. It is a deliberate reallocation of resources. The rage is part of this too, and it is completely real. One minute everything is fine, and the next it absolutely isn't. Someone chews too loudly, and you feel a fury that frightens you. A driver cuts you off, and your reaction surprises even yourself. You don't feel sad or confused. You feel like you are combusting. Progesterone is partly responsible, and it is not playing around. It floods the brain at levels that overwhelm the prefrontal cortex directly. That is the part of your brain that usually keeps you composed. When it gets flooded, the filters come off and emotion pours through raw. This isn't weakness or instability or some character flaw surfacing under pressure. This is basic brain chemistry, responding exactly as the science would predict. The emotion isn't disproportionate. Your brain just temporarily lost its volume knob. Then there is the love, which is harder to explain and stranger still. You are completely overwhelmed by a person you have never actually met. You dream about them. You talk to them. You grieve, imagining harm. The attachment is ferocious before there is even a face to attach to. This confuses people who haven't been through it, and sometimes it confuses you. But oxytocin is already at work, and it has been for some time. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It is what makes connection feel urgent and real. It spikes during pregnancy, flooding the system long before labor or birth. Your brain is not waiting for a moment to bond. It starts immediately. It is building a relationship with someone it has only ever felt. That is not irrational or sentimental. It is neurological design doing its job. The love feels overwhelming because it is supposed to be overwhelming. And the grief you feel when you imagine anything going wrong is the same love. It is oxytocin protecting what it has already decided belongs to you. Here is the part that reframes everything else. Your brain is not reacting to pregnancy, it is changing because of it. The structure itself shifts. The gray matter reorganizes. The neural pathways rewire. Scientists who scan pregnant brains see measurable, physical differences from before. The regions that govern social cognition and threat detection change the most. The changes persist. Many of them last for years after the birth. This is a documented, peer-reviewed, reproducible finding in neuroscience. Pregnancy does not just stretch your body, it restructures your mind. The emotional intensity is not a symptom of the change, it is the change. Every moment you feel overwhelmed is a moment your brain is becoming something new. Every spike of anxiety, every irrational fear, every burst of fierce protective love. All of it is the sound of a brain actively rewiring to keep someone alive. And the fear, because the fear deserves its own moment here. The anxiety of pregnancy is not just worry wearing a hormonal costume. Cortisol, the stress hormone, rises steadily across all 3 trimesters. This is intentional. A heightened threat response keeps you protective and alert. Your brain is calibrated to scan for danger at a level it has never used. A sudden noise startles you more than it would have 6 months ago. A minor risk registers as catastrophic because your brain cannot afford to miss it. This hypervigilance is not anxiety disorder. It is evolutionary software running correctly. It developed over millions of years to protect someone who cannot protect themselves yet. The hypervigilance is inconvenient, but it is also evidence the system is working. Your brain is not broken. It is running its original design. The fear feels excessive because the stakes feel total, and they kind of are. You are keeping a human alive inside your body with nothing but biology. Of course, your brain treats that like the most important thing in the world. And then, sometime in the 3rd trimester, something shifts again. An urgency takes over that feels almost impossible to articulate or explain. You need to organize, to clean, to prepare, to make everything right. Drawers that have never bothered you suddenly demand to be reorganized completely. Cabinets that were perfectly functional become intolerable and have to be sorted. This is nesting, and it is not a personality trait or a quirk. It is a neurologically driven behavioral impulse, chemically triggered and deeply purposeful. You might find yourself doing it at 2 a.m., fully aware, unable to stop. The brain doesn't distinguish between midnight and noon when the impulse arrives. The brain is reading the signals of proximity. A birth is coming soon. It activates a preparation sequence that is millions of years old. The compulsion to create a safe environment is not anxiety in disguise. It is your brain converting its protective drive into physical, controllable action. The drawer is not the point. The safety beneath it is. But here is where it gets even more interesting. The hormones don't just change how you feel, they change how you think. Pregnant people often describe a kind of hyperclarity alongside the emotional chaos. A sudden sharpness of priority, a ruthless sense of what actually matters. This too is chemistry, dopamine and oxytocin reshaping the reward system simultaneously. The things that used to feel urgent somehow stop feeling urgent so quickly. The things that matter most come into focus with startling, almost uncomfortable precision. This is not a cliché about motherhood becoming your whole identity. This is a literal neurological shift in what your brain registers as reward. Your brain is reassigning value across the board, updating what deserves your attention. It is running an audit on your entire life while simultaneously building a person. The emotional volatility and the sudden clarity are both products of the same process. Now, let's talk about what happens when it all suddenly stops. Usually around 72 hours after birth, the floor drops out completely. The hormones that have been flooding your system for 9 months begin to exit. Estrogen and progesterone don't taper gently. They crash in a dramatic fall. The brain that has been operating inside this extreme environment is suddenly exposed. It scrambles to adjust, to rebalance, to figure out what normal even means now. You are simultaneously the most needed you have ever been, and the most depleted. The contrast between what is expected and what is felt is almost violently stark. This is the biology behind what is often called the baby blues. It affects the overwhelming majority of new mothers in some form or another. It is not sadness, or not only sadness, it is withdrawal. Your brain is experiencing something genuinely close to chemical discontinuation. The tearfulness, the disorientation, the strange flatness. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of a brain recalibrating after the most extreme event of its life. And this is happening at the exact moment the world expects you to be radiant. For most people, the recalibration happens within 2 to 3 weeks. The brain finds its new Baseline, the hormones restabilize, the fog begins to lift. But for some, roughly 1 in 5, the recalibration stalls. Postpartum depression is not just prolonged sadness or feeling overwhelmed by the baby. It is a genuine neurological condition driven by a specific and persistent chemical imbalance. It can look like numbness, like rage, or profound disconnection from the baby you love. It is treatable, recognized, and entirely unrelated to how much you love your child. The brain needs support it cannot generate for itself in that moment. Understanding what is happening chemically makes it easier to ask for that support. It also makes it easier to stop interpreting this as some kind of personal failure. Postpartum depression is not a verdict on your character. It is a medical event, and treating it as such is the most loving thing you can do. There is something else worth saying, something that often gets overlooked entirely. The partner standing next to you is going through something neurologically real too. Research shows that involved partners experience measurable hormonal shifts during pregnancy. Testosterone drops, oxytocin rises, cortisol adjusts in response to the shared experience. Paternal instincts are not cultural constructs. They are chemically initiated and real. The protective urgency a partner feels is not performance. It is the same neurological shift. The brain is not a solo instrument here. It is playing a duet. Both people are being changed by the arrival of someone they haven't met yet. Understanding this changes how you talk to each other through the overwhelm. The emotional intensity in the room is rarely coming from just one person. That shared vulnerability, when named, tends to make the whole thing less lonely. What you are going through is not weakness wearing the mask of emotion. It is the most sophisticated biological process the human brain will ever run. The crying is chemistry, and the rage is chemistry, and the love is chemistry. But that doesn't make any of it less real. It makes it more so. Understanding the mechanism doesn't flatten the experience. It gives it its full size. You are not too sensitive, too emotional, or too much of anything. You are a brain under conditions that no other experience on Earth replicates, and you are doing it without a manual, mostly without being told the truth. So the next time you cry at a commercial, pause before calling it irrational. Your estrogen has increased by a factor of 1,000. Your gray matter has physically reorganized itself around someone you haven't met. Your threat response is running at evolution's highest stakes setting. Your bonding system is building love for someone you have never seen. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing what it was designed to do. And it is doing it at a scale that deserves something better than embarrassment. This is not the story of a body out of control. This is the story of a brain doing the most it has ever done. Every emotion you feel during pregnancy has a name and a reason behind it. None of them are excessive. They are proportionate to what is actually happening. You are not falling apart. You are becoming something entirely new. The science has been saying this for years. We just forgot to tell you.